simple hunting trip turns into a deadly fight against an ancient evil. Here's the full movie recap. The movie begins with a frightened woman climbing out of a river. She carefully scans the shoreline and the surrounding forest, making sure nothing is nearby. After reaching dry land, she checks her weapon and realizes she has used every round of ammunition. Terrified, she immediately runs into the forest, hoping to escape whatever is pursuing her. Elsewhere in the woods, a hunter named Mas and his guide Marcia are following the trail of an animal. Marcia is a former runner who had to abandon her athletic career because of a problem with her leg. They are hunting a deer, and before long Mas takes a shot, but he misses the target. Moments later, Mas falls to the ground. As Marcia helps him up, she notices he is carrying a sealed letter. He quickly grabs it back and explains that the envelope is worth far more than both of their lives, insisting that he is only a businessman. The pair continue tracking the deer and soon come across more blood on the ground, confirming the animal is still nearby. Mas casually says the deer is only being hunted so it can become food for his dog. He hands Marcia a weapon before deciding to return the way they came while she continues searching alone. After walking a short distance, Marcia finds the wounded deer but cannot bring herself to end its suffering. At that moment, another hunter named Leo arrives and mercifully kills the animal. He tells Marcia that the hunt is over and asks her to come back with him. When they return to the hunting lodge, Marcia learns that Mas became sick and had to be rescued. Shortly afterward, the camp leader, Chief Mox, expresses his disappointment because she left one of his clients alone in the forest. Marcia admits she made a mistake, but explains that she desperately needs the income from this job. Even so, Mox informs her that this will be her final day working as a hunting guide. Soon after, Marcia receives a call from the hospital, informing her that her appointment has been scheduled for the beginning of the following week. However, she is then told that her health insurance is no longer valid, meaning the surgery for her injured leg cannot be covered. Frustrated by the news, she remembers the sealed letter inside Mas's jacket and begins to form a plan. She secretly takes his jacket and leaves along the same road. While driving through the forest, Marcia notices a massive ancient castle standing among the trees, although she has no idea who lives there. As she continues her journey, she calls the hospital and asks them to keep her appointment because she believes she will soon have enough money for the operation. Before she can finish the conversation, strange interference fills the call and the connection suddenly drops. Rain starts falling as Marcia becomes curious about the letter she stole. She begins looking at it while driving, causing her to lose focus on the road. Without warning, the same woman from the opening scene suddenly appears in front of the vehicle. With no time to avoid her, Marcia accidentally hits the stranger with the car. Shocked by the accident, Marcia quickly gets out and rushes to help the injured woman, whose name is Silva. Speaking in a strange manner, Silva warns her that the place is not safe because the competition is not over. Marcia cannot understand what she means, but soon hears whispers and faint screams coming from deep within the forest. Unseen by either woman, something incredibly fast is secretly following Silva. Wanting to help, Marcia gives Silva Mas's coat and helps her into the vehicle. Before they can leave, a terrifying humanoid creature suddenly appears beside the car. Marcia immediately starts the engine and speeds away, but the creature is unbelievably fast and leaps onto the vehicle. Silva screams in terror as the creature clings to the front of the car. Marcia slams on the brakes, throwing it off. At the same time, a powerful storm brings down a large tree, forcing her to reverse quickly. She loses control, and the vehicle becomes trapped in deep mud. For a brief moment, everything is quiet, but the creature suddenly returns, smashes the car window, grabs Silva along with Mas's coat, and drags her into the forest. Marcia is left frozen in shock, unable to understand what has just happened. Before she can recover, another terrifying creature suddenly appears beside the car and lunges at her. With no time to think, she jumps out of the vehicle and sprints down the road. Her escape is interrupted when a train races across the tracks, cutting off her path and forcing her into the nearby forest. Frightened by the unseen predator chasing her and still unaware of what kind of being it is, she races toward the railway line, hoping to cross before another train blocks the way. Luck is finally on her side as she makes it across just in time. The pursuing creature is not as fortunate and is crushed beneath the speeding locomotive. Marcia keeps running without looking back as more horrifying screams echo through the forest, suggesting that even more creatures are nearby. She climbs a steep hillside as quickly as she can and eventually looks down to see several hooded figures dressed in black. Strangely, they stop pursuing her instead of continuing the chase. Relieved, Marcia notices a small village in the distance and heads straight toward it. Sometime later, she reports everything to a police officer named Esther. Marcia insists that something dragged the injured woman into the forest, but Esther barely takes the story seriously. She explains that Marcia will have to remain in the nearby town of Bonhof because the blocked road will not be cleared until the beginning of the week. While examining Marcia's damaged car, Esther discovers syringes inside and immediately assumes she has been taking hallucinogenic drugs instead of witnessing real events. Marcia repeatedly begs the officer to investigate the area, but Esther refuses, explaining that the land is private property belonging to a countess. She then escorts Marcia into town, where the damaged vehicle is taken to a mechanic. The mechanic Laura examines the car and explains that the axle is broken. She warns Marcia that the repairs will be difficult and extremely expensive. Instead, Laura offers to buy the vehicle from her. Esther adds that Marcia could simply take the train home instead of spending money on repairs. Following the suggestion, Marcia is brought to the railway station to wait for the next train. She still carries the gun that Moss gave her, believing it may become necessary if more danger appears in this unfamiliar place. The train finally arrives and Marcia prepares to board. Just before stepping inside, she receives a phone call from Mr. Matus. He demands the return of the item she stole from him and warns her to hand it back willingly. He calmly explains that he has many ways of obtaining whatever he wants. Soon afterward, it becomes clear that he brutally attacked Chief Mox to force him into revealing Marcia's whereabouts. At the station, two women step off the arriving train and walk toward a waiting vehicle. After getting inside, they drive away together. Disturbed by Matus's threats, Marcia decides not to leave town after all. She realizes Silva was wearing Moss's coat when she was taken, meaning the mysterious letter disappeared with her. Determined to recover it, Marcia stays behind instead of boarding the train. She notices a bicycle and a detailed map of the surrounding area before riding back to the place where the accident happened. Ignoring the darkness covering the forest and determined to find the kidnapped woman, Marcia enters the woods alone. Following the trail, she eventually reaches the stone wall surrounding one of the Countess's properties. Fresh blood stains catch her attention. Without stopping to think about the risks, she climbs over the wall. On the other side, Marcia finds herself inside an enormous hedge maze. Carefully making her way through it, she eventually reaches the estate grounds. She heads toward the stables where she spots an elderly man cleaning horse saddles stained with fresh blood. The old man remains unaware of her presence before disappearing through a doorway leading underground. Marcia quietly follows him, keeping out of sight. Once he walks away, she slips through the same entrance and discovers a large wine cellar. There, she uncovers something horrifying. Hidden inside a secluded compartment is Silva's wounded body, suspended from hooks and heavy chains. The terrifying sight leaves Marcia speechless, yet she cautiously approaches. As she gets closer, she notices a strange tattoo on Silva's back and carefully memorizes its design. To Marcia's surprise, Silva is still alive. She immediately tries to rescue her and manages to release the restraints. As Silva collapses onto the floor, Marcia notices Moss's coat and the valuable letter lying nearby. Before she can retrieve either of them, a hooded creature dressed in black suddenly appears. It attacks both women without hesitation, killing Silva and slashing Marcia's hand. During the struggle, Marcia's phone is also damaged. Reacting instantly, Marcia grabs her gun and fires at the creature before escaping from the chamber. She rushes through another underground passage until she finally reaches an exit. By now, daylight has arrived. Emerging near the river, she spots a fisherman and desperately waves for help. The man fails to notice her. When Marcia turns around, she sees the dark creature charging toward her once again. She begs it to stop, but it ignores her completely. Left with no choice, she fires several shots before cautiously approaching. Pulling back the creature's hood, she is shocked to discover the face of an incredibly beautiful woman. Within seconds, the woman reveals her true nature as a savage, vampire-like creature and grabs Marcia by the throat. Fighting for her life, Marcia shoots the monster's body, forcing it to release her and knocking both of them to the ground. She quickly seizes the vampire's sword and drives it deep into the creature's chest before escaping once more. The terrifying events now mirror the opening scene as Marcia dives into the river, swimming toward the fisherman's boat while the creature continues its relentless pursuit beneath the water. The vampire rapidly follows along the riverbed, refusing to give up. Before it can reach her, Marcia climbs aboard the fisherman's boat. Panicked, she immediately starts the engine, ignoring the fisherman's warnings about fishing traps hidden beneath the surface. Within moments, the boat's propeller becomes tangled in the traps. Terrified that the creature will catch her, Marcia jumps into the water to free the propeller. There she suddenly comes face to face with the body of a dead woman floating beneath the surface. At the same moment, the fisherman restarts the engine as the vampire closes in. Marcia fires her weapon and grabs onto the fishing trap attached to the boat, allowing herself to be dragged away as the boat speeds forward. Soon, the engine begins failing once again, forcing the boat to slow down. Moments later, Josh pulls the exhausted woman from the water and helps her reach safety. Grateful for the rescue, Marcia thanks him before making her way toward the Countess's castle. There she meets the castle administrator, Mrs. Vonnie, who is speaking with Officer Esther. Marcia explains that she found the missing woman and has much more to report about everything that happened during the previous night. Vonnie kindly offers to take care of her, but Marcia refuses and instead shows the injury on her hand. She insists that dangerous lunatics living on the Countess's property are hunting people and murdering them. To her surprise, she is informed that the Countess herself has recently been found dead. After the brief conversation, Marcia is taken to a physician for treatment. The doctor, Helena, immediately catches her attention because she strongly resembles the creature that attacked her earlier. Once her wound has been treated, Marcia remains suspicious of everyone in the castle and asks Esther to inspect the underground compartment where Silva had been imprisoned. Helena quietly reacts to the accusation. clearly paying close attention to the discussion. A short time later, they arrive at the location, but instead of finding any evidence, they discover only a deer hanging there to be prepared as food. Marcia refuses to accept the explanation. While searching the area, she finds a broken piece of her blood-stained phone and claims it proves she was there. Esther dismisses the discovery and reminds Marcia that the only confirmed crime is her unlawful entry onto private property, an offense that could easily lead to her arrest. Vonnie calmly interrupts the argument and says there is no need for legal action, generously offering Marcia a room inside the castle so she can recover from her injuries. Afraid of remaining inside the estate, Marcia asks Esther to drive her away instead. During the trip, she quietly takes her medication, leading Esther to believe that the pills might be responsible for the disturbing visions Marcia has been describing. Rather than following the main road, Esther unexpectedly chooses a shortcut, leaving Marcia confused about where they are going. Along the way, they come across Josh, and Esther stops the police vehicle so he can confirm what happened at the lake. Instead, Josh simply says he rescued Marcia from the water and ended up with a damaged boat as his only reward. Esther tells Marcia to come with her, but realizing Josh is hiding something, Marcia decides to remain behind. Josh offers to take her into town himself, and Esther eventually agrees before driving away. Josh brings Marcia to a small cabin that once belonged to his late uncle. He advises her to avoid speaking with strangers because it is safer that way. During their conversation, Josh explains that many members of the local hunting association believe strange events occur on the Countess's land. He warns that hunting in the area is about far more than ordinary sport. Marcia wonders why nobody tries to stop whatever is happening there. But Josh replies that no one dares interfere with the Countess's people. He promises to take her to catch the train later, though Marcia first asks if she can use the internet. Wanting to help, Josh brings her to a nearby facility that is occasionally used by maintenance workers. While researching the unusual tattoo and the history of the Countess's family, Marcia discovers an old photograph showing Silva standing beside the same women she had earlier seen leaving the train station. She learns that all of them were talented athletes who mysteriously disappeared years ago. Suddenly, someone walks past the hallway outside, drawing her attention. Curious, she follows the sound while searching for Josh, but instead discovers a shooting range. The targets displayed there are marked with the exact same tattoo she saw on Silva's back. The situation grows increasingly unsettling when the targets begin moving on their own. Without warning, the lights switch on, revealing Officer Esther standing behind her. She asks Marcia what she is doing inside the building. Marcia explains everything she has found, and this time Esther finally appears interested enough to invite her back to the police station for a proper conversation. At the station, Marcia begs Esther to contact the family of the woman whose death she witnessed. Esther calmly responds that without a body, there is no proof that any crime occurred. Frustrated, Marcia accuses the officer of protecting the people connected to the Countess. The accusation immediately creates tension between them. Esther reminds Marcia that her criminal record continues to grow, especially after stealing Moss's jacket. While the discussion continues, Josh quietly removes an old book from the desk without Esther noticing. Finally, Esther orders Marcia to leave the station and stop making unsupported accusations. Once they are back inside Josh's vehicle, he reveals the book he secretly took. It contains the writings of Hans Bodeski, one of the Countess's ancestors. According to its pages, he was feared as the Black Knight, a ruthless warrior who delighted in torturing prisoners before killing them. Hidden inside the book, they also discover notes written by Esther, showing that she has been researching the history of Countess Charlotte herself. Later, Marcia once again prepares to leave by train. Before boarding, she notices one of the women from the old photograph, Anna, stepping off the locomotive. Curious, Marcia asks where she is going. Anna calmly answers that she has come to participate in the competition. She then invites Marcia to join her, but Marcia refuses. As a result, she misses the departing train once again and remains alone at the station. Studying the large map displayed there, Marcia suddenly tears it from the protective glass. Carefully examining it, she notices something extraordinary. Using blood from her injured hand, she connects several marked locations and realizes the entire region forms the shape of a star identical to the mysterious tattoo. Convinced the discovery is important, she immediately returns to Josh and explains what she has uncovered. She tells him that the underground tunnels beneath the stable connect each point of the star-shaped formation. Marcia believes everything taking place is based on an ancient battlefield tradition involving a messenger ordered to deliver an important message. According to the old ritual, the messenger had to cross a deadly battlefield, continuing on foot if the horse was lost, swimming across rivers when necessary, and fighting anyone who stood in the way. Determined to uncover the truth, Marcia and Josh head toward the hedge maze once again. Almost immediately after entering, they hear desperate screams that seem to belong to Anna. They rush deeper inside, but the maze separates them. Marcia suddenly sees Anna running through one of the narrow passages while a hunting creature chases her. Helplessly, she watches as the monster catches Anna. Marcia eventually escapes the maze and desperately searches for Josh, but he is nowhere to be found. She follows the creature carrying Anna into the underground passages, yet when she arrives, both of them have completely disappeared. After wandering through the tunnels, Marcia reaches another hidden location where she encounters a woman named Rena, preparing to enter the mysterious competition. Marcia walks in and announces that she will participate as well. She quickly dresses in fencing equipment before the contest begins. As the bell rings, she urgently warns Rena that everyone organizing the event intends to kill her. Marcia then secretly locks Rena inside the room and takes her place. Wearing the protective mask, she steps into the arena, where Vani is waiting as the overseer of the competition. Vani calmly replaces Marcia's practice sword with a real blade and declares that the contestant must prove whether she deserves the fate awaiting her. As soon as Vani leaves, another competitor enters the arena, growling viciously and preparing to kill Marcia. A fierce sword fight begins. Marcia struggles against the attacker, losing part of her clothing while her weapon is knocked away. She quickly recovers the sword but narrowly avoids having her eye pierced, saved only by the iron mask protecting her face. When the opponent tears away Marcia's mask, Marcia counters with a powerful strike that exposes her enemy's face as well. To her horror, the opponent is revealed to be Laura, the mechanic, who is actually another vampire hunting her. Just as Laura prepares to finish the fight, Josh suddenly bursts through a nearby doorway, grabs Marcia, and pulls her to safety. Josh drags Marcia through the doorway, and together they escape the first assault before climbing upward through another passage. They soon realize the exit leads into the village workshop. Laura quickly catches up to them, but Marcia fights back. With Josh's help, they manage to pin the vampire beneath the vehicle, giving themselves enough time to return underground and continue their escape. Deeper inside the tunnels, they discover another door and hide inside the chamber, avoiding the creature for a while. While searching the room, they come across several old books, including the same one Esther had been carrying. Marcia opens a historical volume explaining that the Countess and her 4 companions practiced dark rituals to obtain eternal life. Although they were sentenced to death for their terrible crimes, their bodies mysteriously vanished only a few days after the execution. Marcia and Josh continue through the underground passages toward another point of the star-shaped formation shown on the map. As they walk, Marcia keeps reading the old writings and learns that the church later found the Countess and her followers alive but completely transformed. To prevent endless conflict, the church devised a clever solution. The Countess was persuaded to sign what appeared to be a peace agreement, but the document was actually a powerful curse. From that day onward, she and her followers would remain trapped forever inside the boundaries of her own land. Marcia wonders who the final member of the group could be, because she believes the Countess is already dead and only knows about the vampires she has encountered. Josh simply tells her to think carefully about who is still missing. Outside the cursed property, Matthias arrives with several men and finds the road blocked. Without wasting time, he orders his henchmen to clear the way. Meanwhile, inside the estate, Marcia and Josh hide from the elderly servant working nearby. Unfortunately, the old man notices an open door and unknowingly locks Josh inside one of the rooms. Hoping to free him, Marcia quietly approaches the servant while he burns the victim's clothing and steals his keys without being noticed. When the old man picks up Matus's mysterious letter, he finally breaks the seal and discovers several ancient scrolls hidden inside. Startled by what she sees, Marcia accidentally drops the keys. She immediately looks back toward the servant, only to realize he has disappeared from his chair. Marcia carefully enters the room to recover the letter, but the old man suddenly attacks her with a burning coal poker. She desperately defends herself using a small table as a shield. Gathering the last of her strength, she fights back and finally knocks him unconscious. Still injured, she slides the keys beneath the locked door to Josh and quietly warns him not to make any noise because the creatures are getting closer. Marcia then climbs upstairs and reaches Vani's kitchen. There, she witnesses a horrifying sight. Vani and the vampire doctor Helena are calmly eating pieces of human flesh. The moment they notice Marcia, someone attacks her from behind and drives a sword through her body. Marcia loses consciousness, and when she awakens hours later, she finds herself hanging inside the same torture chamber where Silva had been imprisoned. Vani stands nearby, preparing to continue the cruel traditions taught by the Countess. Marcia insists she was told the Countess had died, but Vani smiles and warns her not to believe everything she hears. She hangs Marcia from heavy hooks and chains exactly like the previous victims and explains that their bodies are used to preserve eternal youth and perfect physical beauty. At last, the truth behind their immortality is revealed. Ordinary people cannot be used for the ritual. Only warriors, or in modern times, gifted athletes with exceptional abilities, possess the qualities required for the sacrifice. While struggling, Marcia accidentally knocks over a table containing her belongings. Vani discovers the mysterious letter and the ancient papers hidden inside. After reading one of the scrolls, she suddenly questions why Marcia truly came there. Those writings are revealed to be the very documents the vampires have searched for over centuries because they contain the secret to escaping their prison. If the curse were broken, they would spread chaos and endless war across the world while tempting humanity with immortality. After Vani leaves, Marcia somehow frees herself from the chains and drops into the deep pit filled with the blood flowing from countless victims. At the bottom, she encounters another creature slowly regenerating. To her horror, she realizes it is the Countess herself. The old servant appears above her, but Marcia escapes before he can stop her. Taking advantage of the creature's weakened condition, she smashes part of the Countess's head and forces her beneath the bloody liquid. While searching for another way out, Marcia notices a weak section in the wall and begins pulling away the loose bricks. Before long, the entire retaining wall collapses. After escaping from the pit, Marcia realizes something unbelievable. The wounds covering her body begin healing almost instantly. She understands that bathing in the strange blood has granted her the same immortality possessed by her enemies. Determined to destroy them once and for all, she climbs back to the upper level. Elsewhere, Josh is cornered by several vampires surrounding him from every direction. Soon afterward, he is shown tied to a chair beside the ritual table where Vani plans to complete the ceremony with the others. Now immortal, Marcia quietly sneaks into the room and watches the gathering from the shadows. Suddenly, the old servant rushes in and warns everyone that the Countess's blood chamber has been destroyed. Panicked, the vampires immediately leave the room. Marcia quickly enters, frees Josh, and collects the sacred writings. Just as they prepare to escape, Laura suddenly attacks again. A brutal battle follows, as Marcia and Laura clash with medieval weapons, each trying to wound the other. Fortunately, Laura's arrogance causes her to make a mistake. Marcia seizes the opportunity, slashes her with both blades, and smashes a heavy metal globe into her face, apparently killing the vampire. Wasting no time, Marcia races to the stables, mounts a horse, and rides into the forest. It is not long before Vani and Helena begin chasing her. Luck finally favors Marcia when she rides through a hidden trap. Pulling the mechanism behind her, she sends Vani crashing into a pit filled with sharp wooden stakes, seemingly killing her. Helena frightens the horse, forcing Marcia to jump to safety. Reaching the nearby river, Marcia deliberately lures Helena into the water before diving beneath the surface. Helena becomes trapped inside the fishing nets and is attacked by a swarm of carnivorous fish. At the castle, Esther returns and discovers the aftermath of the massacre. Seeing Josh holding a blade, she immediately accuses him of committing the murders, but he firmly denies the accusation. Without warning, the elderly servant attempts to ambush Esther, forcing her to shoot him dead. As she leaves the building, she witnesses Josh being struck by Matthias and his armed companion. Marcia soon arrives, and Matthias immediately demands the ancient documents. Before either of them can react, Esther takes possession of the papers herself. Matthias argues that the documents belong to him, but Esther, already aware of his criminal past, announces that he is under arrest. Ignoring her authority, he refuses to surrender. When his female accomplice attempts to run Esther down with the vehicle, Esther fires her weapon, killing the woman instantly. Furious over the loss of his partner, Matthias confronts Esther, but before he can act, the seemingly dead Vani suddenly appears behind him and kills him with incredible speed. She demands the documents, yet Esther immediately opens fire. At that moment, the remaining vampires rise once again from what appeared to be certain death. Terrified by what she is seeing, Esther jumps into Matthias's vehicle and drives straight through one of the vampires, leaving the other two behind. With no transportation left, Marcia and Josh flee into the forest on foot. They know they will never escape the private estate before the creatures catch them, so they head toward the boathouse where the entrance to the underground tunnels lies beneath the water. After several minutes of searching below, they emerge through a cave and reach the area near the shooting range. There they reunite with Esther, who has come looking for weapons. Before any of them can reach the vehicle, the vampires close in, forcing the three of them to retreat into the shooting range. Some time passes as the group waits inside. Marcia notices the vampires remaining outside, patiently waiting for the perfect opportunity to attack. After thinking carefully, Josh suddenly accuses Esther of being the fourth member of the Countess's pact. He claims she has only been pretending to be a police officer after being rejected by the Countess herself. According to Josh, Esther wants the ancient documents because she intends to escape the curse alone. The accusation immediately creates a dangerous standoff as both of them raise their guns at each other. Marcia steps between them and calms the situation. She explains that she has a plan and volunteers to become the bait. The three quickly prepare the weapons inside the shooting range before putting the plan into action. Marcia walks outside alone and successfully draws the vampires toward the building. Without warning, the lights suddenly go out and the attack begins. Marcia leads the creatures directly in front of the firing line, allowing Josh and Esther to unleash a storm of bullets. The endless gunfire tears the immortal vampires apart, but the wounds fail to kill them. Even so, the heavy barrage slows them down for a short time. Moments later, the three shattered vampires begin crawling toward one another. Their broken bodies merge together, forming one enormous and twisted monster. While the horrifying creature reforms, Marcia rushes outside to start the vehicle. To her frustration, she discovers the keys are missing. Back inside, Esther fires her final rounds and is left with only one bullet handed to her by Josh. At that moment, the true identity of the fourth member is finally exposed. Josh suddenly shoots Esther and steals the ancient documents for himself. Seeing Josh's truck nearby, Marcia climbs inside his cabin to search for the missing keys. She soon finds them, but while looking around she notices a fuel container beside a hidden compartment. Curious, she opens it and is horrified to discover the remains of several men stored inside. It is not long before Josh confronts her. He admits that he has deceived everyone from the very beginning and reveals that he is one of the cursed creatures himself. Josh explains that he secretly contacted Mithrius and promised him a generous reward if he quietly delivered the documents. However, Marcia unexpectedly became involved and delayed everything. He also admits that he hated the other vampires and wanted to escape the curse alone. Standing inside the burning cabin, Josh begins reciting the spell in reverse while setting himself on fire. The ritual succeeds, freeing him from the curse, but in exchange it gives birth to an even more terrifying monster. Before the creature attacks, Josh hands the remaining documents to Marcia and urges her to run. As flames spread throughout the cabin, the monstrous being seizes Josh and prepares to kill him. Marcia tries to escape, but suddenly comes face to face with the Countess. Driven by revenge, the ancient creature slams her against the wall and snatches away the sacred writings. Marcia notices the boat engine resting nearby and instantly starts it. She uses the spinning propeller to tear into the Countess while shredding the valuable documents at the same time. Gripping the engine as a weapon, Marcia continues attacking, but the Countess transforms into her hideous true form and proudly declares that she will live forever. Refusing to surrender, Marcia charges forward and completely crushes the monster's head. She immediately returns to the other room where the enormous mutant is about to finish Josh. Without hesitation, Marcia attacks the abomination with the spinning blades of the engine, cutting through the fused vampires until the monstrous body is completely torn apart. After finally destroying the evil creatures, she kneels beside Josh and tries to save him. Accepting that his life is over, Josh refuses any help and allows the flames to consume him. Marcia walks out of the burning cabin and silently watches as her immortal enemies continue burning until nothing remains except ashes. A few hours later, she drives beyond the borders of the cursed land at last. Although she has escaped the nightmare, she now carries the same immortality that her enemies spent centuries trying to protect. Marcia escapes the cursed land, but not without a life-changing consequence. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next movie recap.